You believe we're live? Hey, babe, do you want to hop on YouTube and...
Go see if you can see. By the way, your audio is live right now since you're the one on it.
So, welcome everybody to the Kagan Crow. We're doing another painting stream today. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but...
Yeah, it took us a little bit to get set up here.
Yeah,
A few hours.
I'd say about an hour. Just some technical problems.
Yeah, there's always those.
Because technology is wonderful, is it not?
Yeah.
So, the two miniatures I'm going to be painting today are an Empire Great Swordsman. This is a guy that I 3D printed. His scabbard on the backside didn't really turn out properly, but whatever. No one's going to notice.
I do have chat up, so if anybody's watching, you can chat with us.
And I think it was Last Sword Miniatures that created this guy. And I'm also going to be doing Kislev Ice Witch. This one was made by, what the heck is their name? Dragon's Lake Miniatures. They do some really good Kislev and Dwarf miniatures. So both of these are 3D printed. This one was a bit of a pain in the butt to do, but it came out fine, and this one was really nice to do, and I really like the work that both of these groups do.
I ate about half my battery just getting us set up.
Holy jeez.
Yep.
So I'm going to start with Acadian Flesh Tone.
We need to hire a producer.
And babe, do you want to be our producer?
Probably shouldn't throw my electrical cable straight on my wet palette, huh?
Probably not. So the reason why I usually don't water down my paints is because I have them thinned down quite a bit already with Easy Flow, I think it's called.
Flow Aid.
Flow Aid, there we go. This guy knows, he gets it. I find because I use that, I usually don't have to water these down.
Yeah, you've already mixed it in your pot, so
Yeah.
it would just be doubly redundant. I thin mine like crazy. Never know what's wrong with them.
Don't need a whole lot of flesh tone on either of these models.
And again, I'm usually painting yellows, so, you know.
Yeah. My least favorite color to do. And I think it's pretty common for people to hate doing yellow.
Don't worry, I hate doing yellow too. I'm just a masochist.
Yes. Now you play your Imperial Fist, and the only thing worse than black and yellow is red and yellow.
Yeah.
Does it look nice? Yes. Well, it's probably because you see it so rarely because it's so horrible to deal with.
Speaking of, let's start off with the yellow version for me.
Oh, neither of these guys have much flesh at all. It's going to make this flesh stuff go really quick. And with it being so close to Christmas, we are indeed drinking eggnog.
Oh, one of us is. The other one's drinking Dr. Pepper right now. Place your bets. Place your bets. Oh, paper towel.
Did you bring any miniature grapes? Oh, yeah, right there.
Yep. Of course I did.
I thought you didn't for a second. I was like, what the heck?
Yep, I only paint using the mini grips these days. Alright, so let's start on a yellow marine.
Did you switch it over to you?
I've got us in picture-in-picture.
Oh, well.
So I am doing the Duncan Rhodes method of yellow contrast over, and I almost put it on my wet palette because reflex. It should transition to seeing both in a second. So this stuff, you just glob it all over. You should be seeing Kales, and mine should be in the bottom right of that. You see that? Perfect. So I'm just globbing this all over. With this stuff, you just apply it, and you don't be careful with it. Actually, the more you put on, the better. And usually you don't use this for Space Marines because it tends to, it gets pretty globby on flat surfaces. It's better for surfaces with more detail.
Yeah, contrast is usually really good for wrinkly clothes or skin.
Yeah, that's where I use it a lot, actually. And there we go. Now, when's the last time we streamed? I think it was the painting challenge, wasn't it?
I think we did one since then.
Did we?
But yeah, we did that 1 hour challenge of painting a Space Marine and who could do it better. And I believe there was no decisive winner.
Yeah, we both ended up with pretty solid Marines.
I feel like mine was good in some areas, yours was better in some areas, and we agreed to just call it a draw.
Yeah.
There was nothing at risk except for our friendship, and nobody would watch just a keg. They need a crow too.
Yeah, they would. There's lots of people who watch just kegs. It's actually a profession. If you're refining the fine whiskey.
Well, I'm not much of a whiskey guy, because I'm not a cowboy. I know I've had people at work call me a cowboy lately because I'm wearing a big old Carhartt jacket.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just cowboy country, so.
It is.
Yeah, we're just kind of hanging out, painting, working on our own projects today. Figured it'd be a good way to meet back up with COVID raging still. We're all fully vaccinated, of course. So,
Yes. Nurgle's blessing has no power over us.
yeah, we hope. We hope. Still a chance. And that neither of us are feeling sick, so. Oh, shit. I had to say it, didn't I? You'll see that, so here it's staining all the white bits yellow. So when you're using contrast like this, the most important thing is making sure you have a good solid base coat. Making sure that the white that you're applying it over is really solid. And they do recommend applying these over white, just because of how they work. You have to give them a nice bright background to work against, even if you're doing like the black ones.
I actually don't have any contrast colors.
Really?
I bought a few when they first came out, and contrast certainly has a place. But for my personal painting, I just didn't see myself using it all that often,
Yeah, that's fair.
and I didn't want to
It's
like.
a it's great for beginners for getting
Oh, absolutely.
stuff table presentable really quickly. But it's good for everybody too. Like I treat it as another tool in my toolbox of painting tricks. Um, I don't use it for everything. There's a lot of stuff I actually don't use it for. Um, but this yellow method, is actually one of the best I've ever done. So, and it'll show more as we get more into the more into this project.
So I am surprisingly already done the flesh for both my guys.
Wow. Do you need more models to work on today?
Well, neither of these guys had much flesh on them.
Yeah, that's fair. You're gonna spend more time on all the other details, I suppose.
Yeah, next I will do. I think we're gonna do blue clothes on this guy. We're gonna make him like a, what is it called? Middenheim, I think, is the Empire faction that uses a lot of blue.
Reichland?
Reichland uses red and white.
Oh, why is their team blue then?
Really? Their team is blue?
Their Blood Bowl team, yeah.
Oh, I do not know then.
Yeah, the ones that showed on the box of humans, the blue and white guys,
Yeah.
that's the Reichland Reavers.
Oh, let's start with Cantor Blue. If you hear any weird anime noises in the background, it's because somebody's playing a Zelda video game. Do not be alarmed. No one's watching hentai.
Be alarmed. I probably am. I'm kidding. Mostly.
Mostly. Oops. Gee, I'm not even painting on the screen.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of it's a little bit of a challenge to make sure you're keeping it in frame while you're painting. That's one of the things I'm still getting used to is painting with the camera here. This is Irian Yellow contrast. Still, just going all over with it. I've got two whole squads of these guys I gotta paint, so
So many.
it's like 10 guys. Not the end of the world.
Well, if that's what will cause the end of the world, then we're in a very fragile state.
I mean, it's 40K. World's end every day. For lesser reasons.
Sometimes just for the lulls of it.
Yep. Because an Inquisitor was bored. Alright. There we go. I've got pretty much all of them done now. I just gotta hit a few places. And you notice I'm being pretty rough with this, and that's because it's just the start of this model's paint job. That is one of the big downsides I've found to contrast. I don't know if you found it when you were using it. Correcting it is a pain. If it goes wrong, and if contrast is your only method of painting, it's a pain to.
Yeah, it's because like right now, as you can see, I'm kind of being a little messy, and I'm not really painting in the lines. But with contrast, you got to always stay in the lines.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Okay, if you're doing only contrast, that actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
that's how I start off my Marines. But again, this is just very much the start to my Marines. It provides the shading step and the base coating step. And again, like there's nothing like super horrible with contrast. It's just how we prefer to paint. Like if contrast is what you're gonna do, and you just want to get an army table ready really quickly, or the painting side of the hobby is not your interest.
Oh, and contrast is absolutely designed for you.
Yeah. What I want to try out is army painters come out with their own version of contrast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And supposedly it's quite good. But, Canada being a third world country when it comes to paints means that we'll see it in about 3 years. 4 years maybe, if we're lucky.
I'm just going to quickly do a second layer of these same colors. Second layer is always a little bit faster.
Always is. I could probably start painting Uriel in this guy, but I'm probably going to go to another model really quick while this guy dries some more. Just to be safe. Let's see, who's next on the block? Let's do...
So tell me, Crow, do you have Warhammer Plus?
I do, actually.
Would like to talk about that because I haven't subscribed to it.
To be honest with you, I haven't been watching too much stuff on there lately. It seems like an interesting service. It is kind of expensive, to be honest with you. Most of the reason why I'm subscribed to it is just for the free model at the end of the year.
Oh, I give it to you at the end of the year?
Yeah. So once you've
Oh,
subscribed for 12 months straight, or if you bought a whole year subscription, they will give you a model at the end of the year. So that is, it's nice because it's actually a pretty unique Vindicare model or an Orc model for this year.
yeah, I've seen both of those ones.
They're both beautiful models.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, One of the neat things I learned talking to a GW employee though is as long as you're subscribed and as long as you've hit the 12 months for one of them, you get one of them for free and you can choose to buy the other.
Okay. Other ones are probably what, 40 or $50 Canadian?
Probably more than that, but who knows? We haven't entered our first year of them, so it could very well be quite expensive for them.
Next, I'm doing Calidor Sky.
So I'm working on this Marine next. So this is a Blade Guard veteran, Primaris Blade Guard veteran. So Blade Guard veterans are, as the name kind of implies, they're the melee focused guys. They come with storm shields, heavy bolt pistols, and power swords. They're actually pretty terrifying in close combat. These are going to be Imperial Fist ones, but I'm going to be speaking back towards the older 30K. I don't know how much you know about the 40K lore of Space Marines. I don't think they've really interested you that much.
I've been listening to more and more stuff recently, mostly through either Luton 9 or, what the heck is he called? The Aussie guy.
Oh, yeah. I think I know the guy you're talking about. I
Major
can't.
Kill.
Yeah. So this guy, the Imperial Fists Legion, back in the Horus Heresy, they were a larger legion, 10,000 Marines, right?
All the legions were larger back then.
Yeah, they were legions, not chapters. Inside of the Imperial Fist Legion, they had a group called the Templar Brethren, and those were the ones who would become the first Black Templars when they were split into chapters. The Black Templars being a second founding chapter from the Imperial Fists. So, as a callback to the old Templar Brethren, their armor scheme was black with yellow accents instead of being.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was just black and white.
Yeah, no, black and white is Black Templars, but the Templar Brethren from 30K were black with yellow. And they were all a melee focused unit. So to call back to those guys, and because these guys are a melee focused veteran unit, I figured I'd do them in the Templar Brethren scheme.
Nice.
So that's what I'm doing. So they are. My combination for doing their armor is Abaddon Black, which is GW's pure black color for their armor base. And then I'm using Dark Reaper for the edge highlight, and then Fenrisian Gray for a more focused edge highlight.
So the reason why I decided to do like an Empire Great Swordsman and a Kislev, which are, two different factions. I only got 2 different models here. Is if I finish this guy before the end of the week, I'll probably just give him to my dad for Christmas or something, because whenever my dad plays D&D, he almost always does a human fighter with a great sword. And this guy's balding, so I figured it would be great for my dad. Although he's not a big fan of the Chris wavy swords.
I like your logic.
He doesn't have to like it, he just has to use it. And the reason why I'm doing a Kislev Ice Switch is because I'm really excited for Total War Warhammer 3. It looks fantastic. They're doing a lot of stuff that people are going nuts for. Some people are upset, but I don't really care. They can go ahead and... Someone's always going to be upset about something not being good enough or not enough effort into it, but most people, I think, are really excited for it. And when the old world comes out, they said that they're going to be doing a Kislev army, and I figured this might as well be a start on my Kislev army if it turns out that I like what they do for the old world.
Have they set a date yet on?
No, they have not. There was a rumor that had 0 founding, but a lot of people were acting like it was fact, that it was going to be coming out in March of next year, but there's nothing to support that.
That's unfortunate.
I would rather wait for it to be done right and done well.
Yeah, that's fair. So now is one of the stages of painting that I hate the most because it feels like I'm doing nothing. I am painting black on black. Like pure black on pure black, like not even any tonal differences. Now this is an important step though of painting black armor or black power armor, because what happens when I make a mistake? The primer black that GW uses, which is what this guy's sprayed with, is a slightly different tone than the painted black. So by painting this pure black over the pure black primer, I end up getting the same tone. So when I make a mistake and I have to correct it, it doesn't show up horribly.
It's not that he ever makes mistakes.
No, I make tons of mistakes. But this is a very important step that most people don't think about. Like, and I don't blame them for not thinking about it. You just think, hey, I sprayed it black, it's good to go. Yeah, no, it's because I used to paint Black Templars before I did Imperial Fists.
Years ago, then, before my time.
Yeah, years ago. But yeah, before I met Keg over here, I used to paint them, and I had that problem all the time. I quickly learned to base coat my models with painted on black. So, and sadly, Black Templars just got a whole bunch of cool new models. They look amazing now.
Yeah, they're just released yesterday, I believe.
Last week.
Oh, last week. Okay, I lied.
But they are beautiful new models, and I am a little sad that I don't play them anymore. So
I work with a guy who plays them.
Yeah, we have one guy at our local store who's a little bit crazy about them. But I mean, everybody's got their own things, so I'm not going to berate them too much, right?
And despite popular belief, a black Templar can actually be white.
Jeez. Yeah, unlike salamanders, right?
I think are salamanders the only chapter that have all of their skins?
Nope. Raven Guard do as well. They're all albino. It has something to do with the gene seed, with the chapters. It affects the skin tone of the marine that it's implanted with. So they could start out as a very tanned skin tone, and then over time, as the gene seed adopts into their system, they become albino. I think even Blood Angels have a little bit of that too. Like they tend to be a little bit more paler tones. They also have vampiric teeth, so do with that what you will.
I've got a friend who plays, I think they're Night Lords.
Oh yeah, they're chaos. Good old Chaos Marines. Yeah, you should be very afraid, Marines.
I don't, for those watching, I don't really play 40k anymore. I did for a little bit. I decided to go for the hardest faction to play.
Yep, and then you went up against one of my armies.
And then I was like, screw this nonsense. I'm going to stick with fantasy and Necromunda.
And I don't blame you. There's some fun stuff in both. Like,
Of course.
it's pick what you want to play.
I just don't have time for all the different games GW does.
No, please, you don't play half the ones I do.
Well, I'm also married and I have a dog.
Yes, you have responsibilities. You're further ahead in life. Rub it in some more.
It's only arguable. It's not.
No, I'm kidding. It is what it is.
I work with some guys who would kill to be single because they married the wrong person.
My grandmother always used to say, "Hey, Chris, when are you getting a girlfriend and all that sort of stuff?" And that was back when I was in university, and I'd always tell her, Grandma, I'm in university, one problem at a time. So, I mean, I'm joking when I say that, but just to get her off my back. So what have you been working on lately? What are your other projects that you've been painting? Not on stream necessarily, but just in general.
Mostly Necromunda because I play a lot of Necromunda. I've been doing a House Orlok in my current campaign, and
I thought you didn't like House Orlok.
I love House Orlok.
Who is it I'm thinking of that doesn't like House Orlok? Maybe one of my other friends.
Well, then they're a fool.
He likes them, like, thematically. He just doesn't like playing them.
The wreckers are just awesome. They're very glass cannon.
Mm-hmm.
So like, they'll charge in, and if you don't kill whoever you're attacking, then you will die.
So what you're saying is you're going to Zerg them in against the Goliath Skimmer?
Last time I went against a Goliath player, I didn't take out a single one of his guys.
Yeah, Goliath is pretty beefy.
Yeah, he just tore me a new one.
And for the record, I play Goliath when I play Necromunda, so.
He does. Fitness squad.
Yep.
Captain Cardio.
Everybody loves Captain Cardio. Except those who are on the receiving end of his power hammer.
And the other guy, I took out like two of my guys with a heavy bolter.
Oh, God.
Because it's a heavy bolter, so I have a heavy bolter now.
It's a great weapon.
At the end of January, we are going to be ending our Necromunda campaign, and going to start doing a new one. I'm thinking of playing, what's it called? The newest one, the Outcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Outcast gangs. I'm going to convert something Cabal from Warcry. I'm going to convert them and make some rat skins,
Oh, nice.
which I can understand why they haven't redone rat skins yet, because racism is a more popular topic with people nowadays.
Well, it's one that's more openly talked about, that's for sure.
And yeah, not everything that GW has done in the past is would be considered culturally appropriate in the modern day. Like, they were never, looking to offend people, I'm sure, but just how people approach the topic of racism or sexism is far different than it was even 10 years ago, which I'm sure a lot of people here realize.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, you mean to tell me that a board game company in the 70s and 80s was a little tone deaf? I don't believe you.
Well, I think their main market was probably white people.
Probably. White middle-aged male.
And here we are, white middle-aged males.
Yeah.
Do I have kids? No, I can't afford them because I do this. Oh, that's not the only reason. I also have a dog. I love you, baby. Okay, she doesn't believe me.
One problem at a time, right?
I'll deal with that problem when I'm done painting today.
That's not the one I was referring to. I was referring to kids.
I have 8 nieces and nephews. My mom wants, so my sister has 4 kids. My brother has 3 kids. My wife's older sister has 1 kid. My wife's younger sister is working on a kid. And I think my brother plans on having another one. So there's still more in the works. But my mom says that she wants 100 grandkids.
Oh, Jesus.
My sister can't have any more. So I'm like, Mom, that's a lot of pressure to put on my brother.
Yeah.
I don't think she understood what I meant by that, but
Yeah. Probably went a little bit over her head.
there's one time where my wife and my mom were hanging out, and I called up my wife to see how she was doing, because I think it was the first time they were hanging out without me.
Oh,
I wanted
God.
to make sure my mom was treating her nicely.
Oh, God.
And they were talking about kids, and I was like, yeah, so have you told my mom that we don't plan on having kids? And I guess my mom heard me.
Oh, boy. Well, I'm sure your wife loved getting that bomb dropped right before you hung up the phone.
Yeah, my mom didn't think it was, or my wife didn't think it was that funny. I don't think my mom thought it was that funny either.
So you literally dropped that bomb and left your wife to pick up the fallout? Yeah, that's the kind of move I expected.
Bye.
That's so funny. I have not heard that story.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. I should have told you that by now. My failure as a friend. So I don't know about over on your side, Crow, but lighting on my side isn't the greatest.
Yeah.
So next time we do one of these, we will
Bring in some lights.
Yes.
This is also an option.
Oh.
There you go. There's a lot of light. I mean, that's going to kill your battery pretty quick if you're on.
Well, I'm plugged in.
So am I right now, but yeah, that'll kill your battery otherwise. Might cause a lot of glare, but maybe, I don't know, maybe you guys can see the model a little bit better with the light on.
Well, on my side, I think it's definitely the case. Do we even have any people watching? Or are we just talking to ourselves?
We're talking to ourselves, I think.
Awesome.
Hey, it's better than my normal painting routine of talking to myself. All alone.
He's like a 40-year-old virgin who's like, I'm going to give you blue pants, but I don't want blue pants. Too bad your pants are blue.
Oh, God.
So, the first time I saw a 40-year-old virgin in the theaters, when that scene happened, I laughed. I was like, oh, what a loser. And then my friend in the theater like leaned over and was like, oh, Kale, that's you. And I was like, and that's when I realized who I was. Here I am, married and still a virgin.
Press X to doubt.
So my wife, if you guys are wondering, she does not paint miniatures. She tried help painting once, and I made a comment misunderstanding something. She painted a toad, and to give it kind of like an enchanted look, because it was supposed to be an enchanted toad for talisman, she put a little bit of gold on the nose.
Oh my God.
And which is it's a good idea, but I didn't realize that. I thought that she had accidentally touched some gold paint and got it on the nose, so I offered to fix it for her. And since then, she only goes on about how terrible she is at painting and how much I hate it. Isn't that right, baby? And she's nodding her head. She feels pretty smug about it. She's gotten out of painting forever just because I misunderstood something. How dare I not read her mind?
I'm picking up something else there. But hey, that's okay. Mini painting's not for everybody. It's a hobby that takes a lot of time.
And a lot of money.
Well, the painting part doesn't take too much money. It's the acquiring the model part that takes all the money.
And then each of us got a 3D printer, and
I never use mine, and I come on over and ask you to use yours.
3D printing is just a whole new hobby on its own.
Yeah. Lots of frustrations trying to get mine to work.
Well, he's got a FDM printer, I've got a resin printer. They're two very different printers. I'm sure a lot of people watching this are aware of that.
Yeah. If you're into this hobby, I'm sure 3D printing's become a thing for you. And I would say, from what I've seen from 3D printing, they can get some pretty good results. Some very good results, actually.
For example, this Empire guy I think turned out really good, with the exception of this scabbard, of course, which I didn't realize until I was
Prepping him on it?
Yeah, prepping him for today, and then I was like, oh, geez. So I don't think it's something a lot of people are going to pick up on.
Well, and I think we're still, and I know they're constantly getting better, but I still think we're a ways out from 3D printers replacing the standard kits.
I mean, absolutely. There's pros and cons to both.
I mean, looking at the model that I'm working on right now, I don't think you can get that level of detail with yours, can you? You can get pretty close, but
I would say pretty close. Because, like this guy's got like individual rivets on his armor. There's a fancy little sigil on his breastplate. There's a significant amount of detail in resin miniatures nowadays. Like, look at all the ice on this base. It's going to look better after I finish it.
Well, there's a lot more institutional knowledge too now, right? Like the people making these models are getting better at it.
Yeah, even over the last 2 or 3 years, so there's been a lot of improvements, and it's become much more affordable.
Yeah, and like I was saying, the printers, like the physical technology itself is also getting better. The resolution's constantly improving. Right? Like you were thinking about getting a new one, weren't you, recently?
Yes, I was.
Did you get it? Or?
No, I'm just one thing at a time. So I am getting a small Christmas miracle this year on
No?
Christmas Eve, less than a week away. I will be making the final payment on my vehicle,
Oh, wow.
and then it's going to be all mine.
Congratulations.
So excited. And then I'm going to be putting that money towards a few other things so that my money's not going in so many different directions.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand. I understand for sure. Guess I did a pretty patchy coat of white on this guy, which will become that yellow like I was doing earlier with the contrast. But there will be a few more layers of the white that go on before the contrast goes on because I needed that nice solid base coat. So, and one of the things that I've learned with painting these super light colors, these whites and these yellows, is you really got to let it dry before you touch it again. Like ripping layers is one of the biggest problems and one of the biggest reasons why you get unwanted texture to your lighter colors.
I'm sure everyone who's done light colors, which would be, everyone, absolutely understands what you're talking about. I've done it plenty.
Oh, I've done it a bunch. It took me years before I figured out why that was happening. As I spent so long working on like trying to thin my paints the correct amount, and why aren't I thinning my paints the correct amount? They're like liquid thin, they're like transparently thin, and like why aren't they working? Before I realized, oh, I'm just being too impatient.
And as you get older, patience becomes easier. So for this guy, I've already done all the flesh, all the blue, all the white.
And here, 1 second here, we're going to switch you back to the main camera. And let's get that going. There you are.
So touch something up. There we go. So yeah, I've done all the flesh, all the blue, all the white. And next I'll probably do the armor and the sword.
You know, I think turning your light on there definitely helped with yours.
Oh yeah, I wasn't showing up too well before.
Oh, you were showing up okay. Look at it now. So I'm going back to this guy that I did the contrast on earlier. So you can see it was pretty, it's dried. It's, for the most part, there's some areas that are still drying, but you see that patchiness I was talking about? Like on the knee pad, it looks pretty horrible. On the greaves there, it looks pretty horrible. On the backpack, it's really bad. So what I'm doing is I'm going in with Uriel Yellow, which is the next paint from GW. And that is a standard type of paint. I'll bring it up here in a second. There you are, Uriel Yellow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wear this over all the flat areas that were supposed to not have patchiness to them, and that'll remove that. And I'll help it get a nice, clean look to it. I'm doing this while the white is drying on the other marine. I'm actually going to bring my light back off because mine's just blowing out my video feed.
Oh, you're dealing with lighter colors than I am as well.
Yeah, so it'll do that for sure. The other thing this will help with too is this will help establish the brightness of the yellow as well. It always used to bug me when I was watching all these tutorials on how to paint yellow, because obviously I spent a lot of time studying how to do it and making sure I was doing it proper. And a lot of these tutorials were, to paint yellow, you just paint yellow. It's like, okay, cool, thanks, that helps so much.
That's how people would ask me how I did certain colors. Be like, well, I just painted that color on, and that's what it looks like.
Yeah. And see, here's a prime example of that Uriel Yellow doing its job already on that shoulder pad. Look at that.
That looks really good.
So it gets you that nice vibrant color, it keeps the shading. And I will tighten it up more around the edges as I do more layers of it. But honestly, if I just left it like that, it would already look really good. So there you go. That's the Crow way of doing yellow, and I can't fully claim credit for that. Duncan Rhodes did that on his Academy as well. But yeah, you've seen it here on the live stream as well. God, I have so many yellow marines to paint still. It's never ending.
That's because you own the entire chapter.
I practically do. He's not joking.
Would you like to tell our viewers who are less familiar with Space Marines how many Space Marines belong in a chapter?
About 1,000 of them, give or take. It's kind of changed a little bit with Primaris coming into the field. Primaris, most chapters added a 12th and 13th company when Primaris became a thing. So yeah, it's at one point GW sold a chapter in a box. It was like a holiday special.
I thought that was like a prize that could be won.
No, they have done it as prizes since then, but at one point they just straight out sold it. How much do you want to bet it was?
$30,000.
No, it wasn't that much.
10,000.
It was close. I think it was like 8 or 9, because it included all the vehicles for the entire chapter, all the dreadnoughts, all the. And for those of you who aren't familiar with 40k, dreadnoughts are like a walking tank practically, without getting too deep into the lore.
And it's run by a person who had died, but they brought him back to serve the Emperor in death.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he can never be too dead. Speaking of serving in death, when are they coming out with season 2 of Invincible?
I've not heard anything about that yet. You'd imagine they'd be on that pretty quick, though.
Yeah, because Crow here had recommended it to me because I thought it looked alright, but I wasn't.
You weren't prepared for it?
I wasn't hopping on it right away. And he's like, "Kale, stop going to work. Stop doing whatever you're doing, and go watch this show."
Yeah. Aren't you thankful I did?
Well, I continued going to work just so everyone knows.
Yeah.
But yes, I watched it, and it was far better than I was expecting it to be. It was really good. I think I prefer Seth Rogen as a producer and a creator instead of an actor, because some of the stuff that he's done behind the camera is just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, The Boys probably being his biggest smash success.
Yeah.
Well, The Boys isn't for everyone, but
Well, neither is Invincible. Look at how smooth that yellow shoulder pad came out.
it's pretty good. Because usually yellow requires several layers.
That's the secret. That contrast is the secret sauce for doing this. Because it looked awful before I did that contrast on it, or before I did the Uriel on it. And it's actually easy to correct too with this method. If you make a mistake, it's very easy to correct, which is one of the hardest things for yellow.
Yeah, especially if you're dealing with red and yellow.
So with this method, to correct a mistake on one of these panels, if you make a mistake on one of these flat panels, all you do is you repaint it with the contrast base, the wraith bone, let it dry, and then go straight to Uriel. And you won't even see the difference. If you do make a mistake where one of the recesses is, you do that, and then you just layer in a little bit of the contrast right in the recess.
So now I'm going to show everyone my my secret to doing ice.
Oh boy, that's what I've wanted to know for a little bit.
So there's a lot of different ways to do ice, but to do it fast and easy, it's just two colors. You just choose a light blue and dry brush white onto it.
Huh.
There's better ways to do it if you want it to look really good, but this way is really fast, really easy, which is, I'm not going into any painting competitions. I just want my guys to look good on the table.
Yeah, the good old 3 feet rule.
If it looks good from 3 feet,
it's good enough. Yeah, I mean, I have that same. I have a bit of a problem with holding myself to wanting to do everything to an insane standard, but then I realized, nothing's getting painted. Yeah, I have one guy that looks great. What about the other 10 in the squad?
Yeah, which that's part of the reason why I really enjoy Necromunda, is because you can spend time on those.
Yeah.
On those miniatures, you don't have a whole army of guys to do.
Because each ganger is unique. You can really, give the ganger the time they deserve.
Also, if you're smart about it, you can use a single ganger in multiple gangs. For example, I do Gene Stealers and House Orlok, and I just converted all of my House Orlok guys to have Gene Stealer heads and matched it to my paint theme that I did for my Gene Stealer army back when I did Gene Stealers in 40k. So I can use them all for Gene Stealers in Necromunda and Gene Stealers and Orlok in Necromunda. A lot of the guys are useful for both gangs.
Mm-hmm.
Some people probably think I'm brilliant, other people think I'm lazy.
It's a bit of both.
Ah.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of doing it. Oh, you want to know something funny that I saw from 40K? So they do these themed mission boxes, right? Like it's 2 factions in a box, and it's themed around it. Did you see the latest one?
Yeah, it is your Custodes versus my Gene Stealers.
Yeah.
Although the Gene Stealers got a very nice new looking model.
Yeah. But I was just kind of laughing because that was the last time you played 40K. Was Gene Stealers versus Custodians?
Yeah.
So look, here's a box of Gene Stealers versus Custodians. So I was like, damn it, he doesn't play anymore.
This is what the ice looks like. It's by no means incredible, but it does look like ice. And
put some gloss varnish on that, and
I'll probably do that. That's a good idea. I'll do that when I'm done the miniature, of course.
Then it'll look really icy.
Very nice, or very ice. So I was thinking of at some point in the near future to do a video on five tips on making painting easier and more enjoyable.
Tip 1, light.
Well,
lots of light.
I was thinking doing things such as a wet palette. Very important.
Yes. I educated you on that one.
Yes, he did. I can't believe that went under my radar for so long. It was a big thing, and I just somehow didn't know about it.
I practically had to buy you the wet palette to get you to try it.
Oh, I was broke at the time. I'm always broke, but I was extra broke at the time. I probably should have just done one of the free ones that you can
make yourself.
Yeah.
And those ones are totally viable. I just prefer the pre-built ones. It makes it easy.
Yeah, absolutely it does. So for my armor, I'm doing something that I haven't done in a long time.
No?
Many years. So instead of shading it with black, with Null Oil, I'm shading it with blue.
Oh man. That's a different way of doing it.
Well, it's kind of like doing gold. There's a lot of different ways that you can do the gold. You can shade it with orange or flesh or brown.
Flesh tone is my personal favorite for doing gold. Gives it a nice, rich, warm, ancient look.
Yeah, because I used to do orange, but that's a little bit too warm. It's good for some things, but
yeah.
There was a time many years ago where all metals, I would just shade them all black. I didn't try anything else. I was just like, this is how I do.
No, I did that too. There was one time where I did everything with black shade.
I don't think I ever did that.
Of course, that was before I was painting brighter colors.
Oh, geez, I sure hope so.
No, I was going for the cell-shaded look.
And I'm really liking how the blue's looking on this. I think it really goes well with the.
It's coming out nice.
Yeah, with having blue clothes and stuff, it complements it quite well, I think. And if you disagree, well, then that's fine, because this is a free country, despite what Americans think.
We're not in America.
I found an argument online with an American a little while ago. He was trying to tell me that Canada wasn't a free country and we didn't have freedom of speech.
Are you kidding?
No, this was like 2 months ago.
Oh, jeez. That's pretty funny. So one thing you want to make sure you do is you want to make sure you swap out your water when you're doing metallics. Normally, because I'm over at Keg's place right now, I don't have my full setup. But normally at home, I keep two water pots near my painting area. One's exclusively for metallics, and one's for non-metallics. So it's a good thing to have. Because otherwise what ends up happening is you get these metal flakes inside of your other colors. And it just looks horrible, honestly. All right. Nice and clean yellows. One trick I've learned as well with yellow paint is it looks pretty transparent, like as it's going down. But once it dries pretty solid. So that's one of the things that tripped me up for a long time. Was I would keep putting down more and more and more until the wet yellow looked solid, which is not what you want to be doing. Next thing you know, you got this big mess on a place that you were trying to make a nice smooth yellow. All right, there's
Cracking open a cold one with the boys.
Yeah. Or alternatively, if you're playing Space Wolves or anybody who has an ice-based weapon, you're cracking open the boys with a cold one.
Yeah, I think you've told me that one before. So for my Kislev,
Oh my god! I just got an idea from how you said that. You said Kiss Love. Next ones that you do for Kiss Love, you have to paint like Kiss. Like with the face paint and
I've
everything.
already done squigs like that.
They're Kiss Love.
They're Squigslev, or Kiss Squigs. It is my belief anything as ridiculous as a squig deserves to be painted ridiculously. So I've got like a William Wallace squig and all sorts of stupid looking squigs.
Hey, you know what? Squigs are awesome, and yeah, you should just have fun with them, honestly. Oh, this yellow is coming in nicely.
Calgary Blue is coming out, almost kind of looks purpley.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is that just your paint, or is that...
Well, I think that's just my paint.
Which one are you doing? You're doing...
This one, Calgary Blue.
Oh, do you want to try mine?
And it comes out looking like that. It's probably been a while since I've used this color. It's probably a little separated and I didn't shake it well enough.
That's always a possibility. You said that was Calgary Blue. Do I have one of those in here? No, I don't think I do. Sorry.
And here I was thinking you had everything that's from Games Workshop.
I do. It's just not with me. I only brought ones I was going to use with me today. And blues were not on the menu.
Looks like Blue's back on the menu, boys.
Hey, guess what? Calgary Blue's back on the menu.
Oh, nice.
This one probably also hasn't been used for a while, so really shake it.
Shake it up. Shake it up. Do we have any viewers yet?
I can't tell from there. That's one of the unfortunate parts about...
Oh, this one hasn't even been opened.
There you go, fresh Calgary Blue.
Maybe it's just the color.
It does kind of have a little bit of a purplish tint to it.
Anyways, for my Kislev army, which I may or may not actually start up, kind of depending on the old world. I think I'll probably do a light blue, not Caldor blue. I will decide on a different blue when I come to that. But I'll do light blue with a red trim. I just think that looks really cool. I actually got some Mordheim miniatures designed by Heresy Lab. Maybe I'll do a painting video experimenting with that on those guys.
Yeah. Blue with red, huh? That's a really contrasty scheme. And I don't mean the paint.
Oh.
That's a neat choice, though.
I just think that blue and red go really well together. Not everyone agrees, but I don't think blue and orange go that well together. But they're on the opposite sides of the color wheel and they're supposed to complement each other.
Says who?
Or says my wife.
And color theory.
And color theory.
But, I mean, do what you want, right? Like, it's an art, not a science.
It's paint. It is very much an art.
And it's good to have variety. Not everything needs to be an ultramarine. There was one thing I learned from our painting competition.
Tell me.
Oh my god, blue is easy to paint.
It is.
Yeah, it was very much a. Oh my god, this is what it's like to paint other colors in yellow. I almost went home and I was like, why am I doing Yellow Army again?
Because you don't want to do Smurfs.
Yeah, true.
Alright, so initially on this guy's armor, I did Lead Belcher. And then I did the blue wash. Now I'm going to be doing Iron Breaker.
Oh, nice. So you're gonna give it that blued steel kind of.
Yeah, I'm doing a few experiments. I want to have like an easy way of doing like the blued steel look.
Yeah.
Because I tried watching a video on how to get like that realistic steel that people sometimes do. And just, it's too hard.
Well, a blued steel looks pretty good too. I do that for my Grey Knights, or the Death Watch, rather. Kind of the same. Same scheme. Death Watch Marines have a silver arm. Uh, their armor is black, but they have a silver arm that they have on their armor. So sadly, that is they have much different rules than other Marines. Otherwise, I would have done like a whole army of them. Like they have different units and everything.
If I ever get back into 40k, oh geez, I forgot to paint the upper leg here. Oops. If I ever get back into 40k, I'll probably do Space Marines because they're easy.
Yeah.
And definitely going to be doing Minotaurs now that I know they're a faction.
Oh, Minotaurs are amazing. Red and bronze color scheme.
It's so easy to paint.
Yeah. And they are a really cool army, and they have some really cool units.
And I think it's Atlan Forge does some really good 3D models for them.
Even their official stuff is really good.
Well, they don't have that much official stuff.
No, it's mostly Forge World stuff.
Yeah, they got like 2 or 3 guys on Forge World, I think.
They actually have one captain that you can get.
And there's a Dreadnought.
That's actually the same captain.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's the same captain. After a certain campaign, he becomes a Dreadnought. And they actually have rules to run them as both.
I assume you can't take both in the same army, though.
Correct, yes, because he is a named character. And that's pretty common. If you have named characters in 40k, you can't take multiple of that same named character, no matter how they appear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and same thing in fantasy, of course. For vampires, there's Vlad von Karstein, the Acolyte, which is, Vlad von Karstein when he was younger. And then they also had the modern Vlad von Karstein, and it says that, like, you can't take both of these no matter how badly you want to. Pick one. He's either an Acolyte or a Master. He's not both, and he's only one.
Yeah. Well, it makes a lot of sense. As much as you want to run multiple of them.
So one thing that's really good about having a wet palette is I forgot to do this guy's upper leg earlier. And if I wasn't using a wet palette, I was just using a regular palette, this blue would have been dried out already and I'd have to pull out some more, but it was still wet, so I was able to...
Actually, in a similar vein to that, I just went back to this black armored marine, and this white that I'm painting on his armor right now is the same white I was using last time I worked on him. It's the same little pool on my wet palette still. So yeah, wet palettes are invaluable. It saved me so much money on paint.
Oh yeah.
And I've actually got a new one coming from Red Grass Games from their Kickstarter. I'm excited to get that in the new year. It's a reusable wet palette. So,
how do you mean reusable?
The sheets can be washed.
Oh.
So the palette that I'm using right now comes from a place called Red Grass Games. They make something called the Everlasting Wet Palette, which is one of the highest rated ones. They're all good. I mean, even homemade is great. Anything's better than a dry palette. But they make these really great Everlasting Wet Palettes. They came out on Kickstarter. As they do that for all their new products, they always start on Kickstarter. And it's the Everlasting Wet Palette reusable version. It's a new size, so it's a little bit bigger. And they come with these hydration. They call them hydration membranes that you can rinse and reuse a few times before they have to be disposed of. Unlike your current palette paper, which is done after one use. Well, sometimes. Usually done after one use. So I'm excited to be getting that. And what's kind of neat is that they came with there's also a glass insert for using oil paints. So that was super neat. Obviously, it doesn't provide, that's more of a dry palette type thing. Like, obviously, the glass isn't going to transfer the water.
Obviously.
But that's kind of the point. But yeah, it's cool to have that option. So I'm excited for that to get in. That'll probably be in sometime in the new year. I think it was March, probably. Was their estimated ship date? But this pandemic's thrown everything into chaos.
Yeah, it's kind of messed everything up.
Don't know when we're going to be able to see people again. Don't know when stuff's going to arrive, So, it's not... We're making it through it, but, this will be the new normal for a while still, I'm afraid.
Maybe forever.
Well, I've commented with my folks about this, I think getting your COVID shot's going to be the new flu shot, right? There's a new one every year.
Yeah. There's just going to be so many variants out all over the world because that's just how viruses work.
Well, yeah, that's the threat of viruses, that they mutate rapidly. And, with vaccine hesitancy and, different political reasons why people aren't getting the vaccines, or just some places it's not that people don't want to get the vaccine; it's not available. Um, it's gonna take forever before we're out of this, and that's the sad truth of it. Like, I'm not trying to be a downer here, but that's how it's gonna be.
Nurgle's blessing. So I really like how the silver turned out.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like I say, that's how I do like my Grey Knight Steel or Death Watch, and I love it on them. And actually, a neat little lore piece about the Death Watch. So Death Watch, they take their Marines from all the other chapters. They get seconded to the Death Watch, where they, do a tour or two, and usually die because the Death Watch are sent on the hardest missions, even for Marines. They usually don't come back. A few of them who do survive their missions decide to become Black Shields, who are Marines that are permanently with the Death Watch. A few of them will return to their parent chapters, or whichever chapter they came from. And usually, if they do that, they're pretty much guaranteed a command rank when they come back. And one of the things that they do, one of the lesser known pieces of lore, is that they'll actually keep that silver arm when they return to their parent chapter. So they'll repaint their armor back to Blood Angels or Imperial Fists or Salamanders or whatever chapter they came from, but they'll leave that one arm silver. And I actually did one of my lieutenants in my army actually has that, just as a neat little detail. He was a special edition lieutenant, so I thought I'd make him a little bit more special by giving him the Death Watch arm. I actually left the Death Watch shoulder pad on him again. So it's got the special sculpted shoulder pad with the Inquisition symbol on it and all that. So yeah, it's a pretty neat little thing. And like Keg was mentioning here, that's the way I do the way he's done his silver on that model is the exact same way I do that. Yeah, a little bit of lore for you. there's lots of Marine players out there, and I think the Marines have a lot of neat little details that aren't really brought up in most of the time.
So a little while ago, I was telling my wife about some lore about ogres and fantasy and why they worship the Great Maw and stuff. And she's like, you know what I love about you? And when you're talking about all this Warhammer stuff, you act like it actually happened.
Yeah.
I'm aware it's not real history, people. But it's just so interesting.
Doesn't mean it's not interesting.
Oh, yeah, well, Games Workshop is, over the last few decades, has created very rich lore for a lot of their games.
Yeah. The one thing that does frustrate me, though, is that even as a Marine player, I wish other factions got more updates as often as I do.
Oh, yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a Marine player. I'm happy to get my updates frequently, but it does kind of make it a little bit lame when you're the only one getting them and everybody else is still sitting on their rulebook from an edition ago. So,
I'm actually surprised that Gene Stealers are getting an update so quickly.
I'm not. They're pretty popular as sub-faction.
So one of the things I had a hard time with the Gene Stealers is I was just trying to play them as Gene Stealers, but that's not how they're intended to be played.
They're really not fleshed out for that yet.
No, Gene Stealers are a combination of Tyranids and
Imperial Guard.
Yeah, Imperial Guard, and you're supposed to field essentially 3 armies at once, and
yeah,
the Gene Stealer stuff is just supposed to fill in all the gaps.
Yeah, if you try to run just pure Gene Stealer cult,
you'll lose every time.
You're usually not having a good time. You may not lose every time, but you're usually not having a good time.
Yeah.
And part of that is that, like, just with how they're built, they lack kind of the heavy firepower that the Astra Militarum gives them at range, and they lack the pure close combat of pure Tyranids. They're good. They're good in the middle, right? Like,
Yeah.
and they can pull some nasty tricks, but you really got to ally them.
Yeah, somebody came to my house once and was nice enough to show me how to play them, and you really got to know the rules better than I did in order to pull off a lot of stuff.
Yeah. They're one of the hardest armies to get started with.
But I was like, no, they look the coolest. I'm playing them. And I was like, screw it, this game sucks. I quit.
Well, yeah, you were getting stomped left and right because, like,
And center.
eh, not that I'm trying to, you know, knock you down a few pegs or anything, but it's just how it is. Like, I mean, you know what my track record is against our other Warhammer buddy? You know the one I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
plays Eldar.
Yep. I've won one game against him.
Oh, that's it?
That's it. The problem is he says he doesn't do it, and I don't think he does it intentionally, but he builds his army to face Marines. I don't think he's list tailoring. I don't think he does it intentionally, but just because I'm the one who plays against him the most, he naturally kind of ends up being Marine countering, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me, I just pick units because they look cool. And actually, usually I end up playing non competitive lists. Like I'll play a thematic list.
Oh, geez. I tried doing that in a fantasy campaign recently that I did with a friend. It was for Carrick 8 Peaks, so it's supposed to be night goblins fighting dwarves. So he's playing dwarves, and I was doing night goblins. And night goblins just, they can't be run by themselves.
You have a problem with that,
Oh
don't you?
my word.
It's your second army that you can't do that with.
Yeah, so I tried for 3 games, tried mixing things up, going a little heavier in some areas than others, and then I was like, all right, like this book is called Orcs and Goblins. It's not just a goblin book. Like I got to use some orcs in here. Like I could, goblins are really good tar pits
Yes.
in
Oh yeah.
fantasy. So, but they just lack the power to do any hitting damage.
Mm.
So I would like tar them down, but I wouldn't kill that many dwarves. And you know, dwarves are just better than goblins.
Yeah. Eventually, they're gonna mow through them.
Yeah, so that's exactly what it was. And usually goblins will just hold them in place until something else comes along to kill them.
Yeah.
But when nothing else comes along to kill it, then
You're kind of screwed.
yeah.
Yep. At that point, you're kind of, well.
Yeah, so for the 4th game I was like, I'm gonna play regular orcs and goblins because I have to. And then that game was technically a draw. I beat him, but because of how the point system works, like you have to score twice as many points in order to claim a victory.
Mm.
So it was a draw. And we haven't got together to play again in the last couple of months. So I'll probably invite him over in the new year and we will.
I wouldn't mind sitting around for that just to see how it plays.
Sure.
I mean, I have no intention of getting into it, but
Got my hopes up and everything.
actually, speaking of games that we need to see how it's played, we need to play a Dungeon Bowl game. That'd be fun, just to do a standalone one shot.
I'd be down for that.
So, for those of you out there who have played Blood Bowl, the game of literal fantasy football, there's a new version of it called Dungeon Bowl out, and it was actually an older version of the game. It just hasn't been had official rules for a long time, like Blood Bowl did, and they just released a new version of the rules, and it's fantastic. It's literally football played in a dungeon. Um,
The way football was meant to be played.
yeah, it's pure chaos. More so than even regular Blood Bowl, because the dungeons are just crazy. Like there's rules for one of the rooms in the dungeon is a kitchen, And when you're in the kitchen, the players can throw food at each other. And on a 5-up, it causes a knockdown.
Amazing.
And there's things like there's a dragon's lair in there too.
Well, of course, it wouldn't be a dungeon without a dragon.
Yep. Yep. And there's a treasury in there too. That when players are in there, they can choose to take an action to scoop up some gold, and it gives you extra gold at the end of the match.
Nice.
Depending on how many players have done it. So it's some cool stuff in there. But probably the craziest rule is the no turn limit thing.
Oh, it's not 16 turns?
There's absolutely no limit.
Does it go just till somebody scores, or?
It goes until a touchdown is scored. There is no draws, and there is no multiple touchdowns. And one of the other crazy things is that if you have 16 players on your team, which is a maximum roster, all 16 players can enter the dungeon.
Oh, that's too many. In a recent game of Necromunda, I ended up playing a bunch of cards, so I had a bunch of extra guys. The other person I was going against probably had 7 guys, and I think I had 13 or 14.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, it was just so many. And it was just so hard to keep track of it all, and just too much, and I was like, it's really taken away from the enjoyment to be like I won the game.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. You almost outnumbered them 2-1.
As you like to say, quantity is a quality all on its own.
Yep.
That's why for the rat skin faction that I want to play next in Necromunda, I've already made a test list, and it's got 12 guys in it. I'm going to knock it down to 10, though, because 12 is just too many to start off with.
That's fair.
But
see, I like how Dungeon Bowl handles the getting more guys onto the field. So each team starts with 7 in the dungeon, and then each turn they can teleport one more player in.
Right, yes, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. And when they teleport a player in, that's it for that player for that turn. They can't move or they can't.
Their turn is getting there.
Yeah. Although, to be honest with you, I don't think all 16 players are going to end up in most games. There's probably going to be a touchdown before that happens. And should the game end, like they recommend that, like for tournament organizers and all that, you impose a time limit on the game, like 2 hours or whatever. If there's no touchdown by the end of that, then what you do is you look at where the ball is on the board, you count the number of squares to each end zone, whichever one is closer to is the loser.
That makes sense.
One of the other funny things is that neither team starts the game with the ball.
It's just in the middle, right?
No, it's in a chest. There's 6 chests placed in the dungeon at the start of the match, and randomly it's in one of those 6 ones. The other 5 are bombs.
Oh, my word.
And if a player opens one of the chests with a bomb in it, it's an automatic knockdown and armor roll.
To be fair, it is a bomb.
Yep. And they're actually sculpted in the chests, like the little chest markers. They're actually sculpted with piles of gold and either a bomb or the ball in it. The gold is just extra projectiles.
Shrapnel.
Yep. One of the funny rules there, too, is that even once the ball's been found, you can still keep opening chests. So, a smart coach, what you would do is, oh, hey, look, the other team's big ogre's right next to one of the chests. I'm going to run up my little snotling, open the chest, and...
Kamikaze!
Exactly. And it's important to note that, like, when the chest explodes, it knocks down everybody adjacent to it, not just the person who opened it.
It makes sense. It is a bomb.
So there's some cool stuff. There's some cool stuff
Looking
to it.
at. Sorry, just some pretty lady walked by, guys. So, I don't know why, but I usually do red for weapon sheaths and handles.
Red, huh?
It's just something I've always done. I don't. It's not every time, sometimes I don't, but usually I do. I think it looks good, regardless.
I usually do a brown leather, which I think a lot of people do. That sounds like a neat color combo. Maybe I'll try that on some of my other stuff. At least for like a weapon hilt. Maybe not a sheath, but a weapon hilt at the very least.
Yeah, maybe I don't do brown just because there's usually so much other brown on there.
True,
I think
yeah.
I just probably want a slightly different color.
That's fair. Speaking of slightly different colors, I'm painting one of my Eliminators right now. So Eliminators are Primaris snipers. So I'm giving him a camo cloak, like an actual camo. I'm starting out with gray, and then I'll be doing an actual pattern on it. Just a geometric pattern. I'm not going to go too crazy with it. I'm not that skilled when it comes to doing freehand patterns. One thing I did think about doing was just doing a stippling, like to do like digital camo.
Oh yeah.
Just do a bunch of different stippling of different colors. That would work.
I saw someone who took what is it called? Typhus corrosion,
Mm-hmm.
and they put it on the cloak, the upper half of the cloak, to give it texture, and then they dry brushed it to make it look like dirt and mud, and then like the lower half they painted blue, and it looked like it was like a shimmering light going across it, and it was changing.
Oh, that's cool.
Tried to find the picture on my phone earlier, but I couldn't find it. I might not have it anymore.
I've seen a bunch of those, like where they do like transitioning.
Yeah, it was.
I actually saw. So if you're familiar with Space Marines and the Thousand Suns, or not Thousand Suns, Alpha Legion.
Yeah, they're chaos, right?
Yeah, they're chaos, and one of their whole things is hiding in plain sight and hiding among other people. So what I saw was somebody did was they did a dreadnought, and they took a Chaos Dreadnought kit and a Loyalist Dreadnought kit, and actually like sawed it in half, put them together, and then painted it to where it had that transforming line where it was transforming from a Loyalist Dreadnought into a Chaos one.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it was an Alpha Legion Dreadnought. It looked really cool. And they did that with a whole bunch of other Marines too. It was very cool. When the people who are really good at modeling get their hands on stuff, oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a sculptor, I'm just a painter.
Although I love seeing orc conversions.
Yes, the Rhino one. The squad of boys that make a Rhino.
I have the 3D file for that.
Do you?
Yeah, I found it online, and also the Stealth Boys.
Oh yeah. Those were made long before 3D printing, but that's cool that they've...
Yeah, somebody was nice enough to throw them up for free online on, I think, cults3d.com. So at some point in the future, I might print them off. Has anybody commented on our video?
I don't see anything in the chat.
Oh my gosh.
But this app can be kind of funny with the chat, so. I did change it so both our mics are always live.
I assume so, otherwise it would just sound like we're talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
And then people hopping on and be like, holy geez, crazy painter.
I mean, some of the best painters were the crazy ones.
Well, I don't think either of us are quite Van Gogh level of Warhammer.
Not yet. Not with that attitude.
Nope, not with that attitude, and I don't plan to be.
I always love how funny my snipers look. Because
why do they look funny?
Well, because I do these camo cloaks on them,
Mm-hmm.
and their armor's bright yellow. Right? Like,
you can't see me.
I always joke they can blend into either urban terrain or the sun.
Or banana field.
Or banana field, yes. And yeah, so a lot of marine chapters, they use very impractical colors because they're heraldic colors. So there's only one chapter that I know of that actually uses reasonable colors and will actually repaint their armor for whatever they're in.
There's also that one house chapter where they use like just actual modern day camo.
Yeah, that's the Raptors. They are a GW chapter.
No, I was thinking Logic Marine. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. The Reusable Marines.
Yes.
The Raptors are the canonical versions of them. The Raptors are literally the Reusable Marines. Canonically. They will try diplomacy. They will paint their armor to match whatever environment they're in. Their normal armor scheme is an olive drab. And if I wasn't already doing Imperial Fists, they're probably the ones I would have done.
So if anybody's in the comments, let us know what kind of stuff you're currently working on, and
yeah, if anybody's watching, or are we crazy guys recording our own?
We're our OnlyFans.
Oh, you gotta pay money for that.
Not that kind of OnlyFans.
I saw because I'm in IT, I saw a video or a picture that somebody posted of their OnlyFans, and it was the only computer fans, like the kind that you install inside a machine.
Yeah.
It was OnlyFans. I assume that's the kind of humor you would like.
One of the guys at work told me that his sister has an OnlyFans, and I was like, that's so weird.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be advertising that.
Especially on a construction site.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm trying to help out my sister financially. Anybody want to subscribe to her OnlyFans?
Oh, God.
I don't think that the bosses would allow that. I think they'd be like, yeah, you can't do that at work. My company tries to have a good reputation.
Emphasis on tries.
Well, and most of the guys I work with are pretty good. But, you're always going to get some people who...
You work in construction, of course.
Yeah.
I've worked on construction sites before. back before I got into my actual career. Just trying to take jobs to, pay the bills.
And here I am still doing construction.
Nothing wrong with it, dude. In fact, I think as a society, we need to stop, shitting on the trades so much.
I think Trudeau should stop shitting on the trades.
Well, I mean it in general, not just in Canada, but in the U.S. too.
Everyone's better than a tradesperson until you need your door fixed.
Yep, exactly. Or everybody has this mentality of that.
Any trained monkey could do that. So before I got into construction, I always wondered why it took so long to get a building built.
Yeah, now you understand why?
Now I understand why. It's usually not because people are just sitting around doing nothing. There's a lot of finesse. There's a reason why in most countries you have to go to school to get a trade. Not in the US, though. In the US, you just get a job and they're like, hey, you're a tradesperson now. You're a carpenter or a plumber or whatever. There's no
I thought there was in the U.S. The more I know.
I think there is for mechanics.
For certain trades, you thinking?
Yeah, but for
carpentry?
For carpentry, there's not. Also, trades are also a little different down there. For example, concrete work.
Yep.
In most countries is classified as carpentry. But I think in the US and Germany, it's classified as masonry.
I mean, that is more technically correct, isn't it?
Well, the reason why most countries classify concrete work as carpentry is because, formwork is often made out of wood.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
There's
That's
other
fair.
things. You can use ICF, which is foam, and
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Perry panels, which are aluminum and steel.
That's fair. If you're doing casting, then yeah, the forms are wood. Or framing, or whatever you call it. I don't know, I'm not a tradesman. The only trade I could do is low voltage cabling, as we were discussing earlier.
Yeah, next year I plan on renovating my basement, and it's going to have some very bright lights, so we'll be
working in there from now on.
Yeah, currently it's an unfinished basement.
Oh, we gotta make sure to put some sound paneling up. Some sound foam. If you're gonna use it for recording.
Oh, I don't think we're gonna be doing this professionally. I don't think we're gonna have that many people ever watching us. I think that.
I know, but I'm just saying you don't have to spend a lot on it, and it's something you put up after you're done anyway. So it's usually not part of the renovation. I had a buddy who set up his place to be like a sound stage, and oh my god, it was the most uncomfortable place to sit in.
Why?
Because he made it like a tiny little box.
Oh.
And then he's like, all right, we're gonna have D&D in here with 6 people. And it's just like, oh my god.
Was it like a sweat lodge?
Not really, because it was still open-ish, but it was not comfortable. Like we were all banging into each other and everything.
You were all banging each other.
Yes.
Classic.
We can play back the recording of what I said.
No, we've gone too far.
I keep working over to the right here because I'm trying to get in to see some of the details. And I keep going out of frame with my stuff or getting you like a really nice high definition shot of my hand.
I keep on doing that too.
Yeah. I'm going to turn my camera light on here for a bit. Mostly because it helps me find where the base coat isn't quite 100% done yet. Having a nice bright light can help with that a lot. Normally when I'm painting at home, I've got a big ass painter's light at home. And that helps me a lot. And it lets me paint for longer because it reduces my eye strain.
I actually think that I'm done with this guy.
Yeah. Your camera's not live. Let's reconnect your camera there. You don't have to do anything on your end. There we go. We got your camera back now. There you go. We're live.
Yeah, this guy is all done. I'm just going to give him my identity. You can use him in D&D because he plays the same kind of character. You might do it, but I don't like this guy because of the ruffles. Just leave him to my brother or something because my brother also often uses great swords.
Oh, there you go. At least it's easy. Easy gift.
My wife wants to do it, but I didn't know if it was.
Man needs his painting handles.
Man needs his painting handles.
To be fair, I've only got like 5 of these ones.
I've only got one of these ones. I really like the new thing they came out with for assembling miniatures.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah. Have you used it?
I've not. I've got the old one, and I don't think I'll get the new one because I don't really need it.
Yeah.
But for some miniatures, it would definitely
Yeah, because I have jump pack guys who are on these flying stands, and that makes such a big difference for them. I'm actually using it right now at home, the new one, and it's holding up an entire tank that's on a hover stand.
nice.
So it's a lot better than the old one. The old one had this problem where you would set it to the position you wanted it to be at, and it would kind of bounce back. Like the joints weren't very, I don't know how to put it. They wouldn't hold their position very well. The new one is more like these tripods that we're using.
Something else I like Wet Palette for is it's just so much easier to
Blend.
mix colors.
Blending is so much easier with a wet palette. So much easier with a wet palette. All right, there we go. We're getting there. The base coat's just about done. Actually, I think that's about good enough. I can start doing the pattern now. Okay, so let's go ahead and start patterning this in. Let's do a nice dark gray first. Let's do Skaven Blight Dinge. So I started off, this cloak is Mechanicus, and then I'm going to do Skaven Blight Dinge for the patterning. For stage 1 patterning. I'm going to do several stages. And I'm just going to be making random shapes on it, just something to kind of break up his silhouette a bit. Actually, I think the first time I did a sniper cloak, I started with Skaven Blight Dinge. And then did Mechanicus on it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick out an area here. Skaven Blight. I'm going to make my camera the main since I'm going to be working on.
So, what is one character that you would give people, something that you sort of do a lot and you say you don't do this?
Oh God. I was kind of talking about this earlier, but yellows. That's probably the biggest tip. Like light colors, just let them dry. Let them dry. Give them more time than you think they need. You'll think they're done. Give them even more time.
So, the tip that I'm going to give is for paints, don't be brand loyal.
Yeah.
So, I use mostly GW colors because I just like always did. And like Games Workshop paints have very good competition now. Vallejo and Army Paint are both very good. And you'll just find some colors that you prefer that are done by other competitors.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely agree. I use mostly GW paints because I'm used to them.
Yeah, that's why I kind of stuck with them. But
I use Army Painter paints as well. Army Painter Matte Black and Matte White are some of my favorite paints ever.
yeah, because GW white, I just find isn't that good. It doesn't last very long. It's not very effective.
Yeah.
Crumps up really easily. Whatever Army Painter does, they know how to.
But I've also had bad experiences with some brands. Like Vallejo, I had a bad experience with.
I heard the Vallejo spray paints aren't that good.
Their varnish is great. Their spray paints, yeah, I'd have to agree. But the bad experience that I had with Vallejo was, and I don't know if this is just because of shipping or, you know what I mean? Like it could have just been shipping to Canada here, or it could have been, something else. Um, I bought 3 bottles of the same yellow, and they were all different tones. They were all labeled as the same color. So, and that kind of, because I use yellow a lot, that put me off Vallejo. I said, nope, that's it. I'm done. I'm not buying Vallejo because I'm not going to spend that money to.
Have an inconsistent color.
Yeah. And when it's a color like yellow where inconsistencies show up super easily, that's not going to do. So that was my bad experience. But, I mean, use whatever paints you're comfortable with. Hell, I've got a buddy in the States who paints with like dollar store paints. He does a good job with them though.
I started off with that, but
Yeah. I know my light's blowing out my stream a little bit. but kind of need it right now to kind of see where I'm doing this stuff. Oh, actually, the biggest tip I'll give anybody is thin your damn paints. Thin your paints. Oh my God. Thin your paints. Yes, at least. At least, but keep it thin. Keep it thin. Yeah, it will give you a better result. You get smoother results. You'll get your paint will go a lot further, and like, yeah, just in general, it's a good call.
Plus, Ethan Post is also a meme now.
Yeah, it's also a meme. Have some fun with it, you know. So, no, it was base paints, I think, or not base paints, like the texture stuff, the stuff for doing your basing material. That's a sign, or she's snoring. You can see I'm just starting to break up the colors here a little bit. It actually shows up more on the stream than it does in person, which is actually really helping me by going through my camera. And those lines aren't clean, but you know what? I'm not worried about them for a first pass. I'm worried about getting them blocked in and getting the color solid first. And what'll happen is I'll go back with Mechanicus and I'll clean up the lines, make them look more square and all that sort of stuff. So, and with a smaller brush. So, and actually, that's another tip I'll give people. Uh, Usually my models look awful until they get to their final stages, and that's okay. Like, if you're expecting to look perfect the first time you go to do something, like, I've probably got gray all over this guy, and places where I want to have yellow armor, which, oh my god, that means I'll have to repaint the whites. Um, it's just part of the process. Like, don't freak out, it's just part of the process. You'll keep getting better at it.
And if you don't wanna paint you guys, then why are you watching this stream?
Well, I mean, everybody has a different skill level and a different level that they want to take it to. There's nothing wrong with, you could have just done this guy's cloak gray. You don't have to do a pattern on it. I'm doing a pattern on it because I want to. You know? As long as you're happy with your models, that's what matters. Unless you're going into a painting competition, then then you might want to.
I used to be hands down better than Crow over here.
Oh, yeah.
And I got pretty happy with the level that I was at, and then he started painting, and he's very good now.
I'm not. I'm horrible at skin tones. Most of the helmeted guys who never take their helmets off, and you know what? I model my Marines so they never take their helmets off because taking your helmet off in a battlefield is bloody dumb. I don't care. And it's worse with Marines because they do it with their command roles. Their sergeants and their lieutenants are the ones without helmets on. It's like, okay, you're the one who should have the helmet on because there's probably a sniper looking for you. and I'll be honest with you, part of my brand loyalty to GW paints is just how easy it is to transport. Like I'm here over at Keg's place doing this stream. Um, I use GW paints because they make a box that holds all their paints. It makes it easy for me to move them around. Like if I was just only ever painting at home, that wouldn't be a problem, right? I could set up whatever solution I want for storing and organizing my paints, and I'd never have to worry about it. So, it's everybody's different, and there's no right or wrong.
So what I've done, I'm gonna switch it over to my camera.
Yeah, one sec. And we will. I'm just gonna go straight with your camera, not even mine in picture in picture. So there you go.
So this is Crow's setup. He uses these. I used to have a whole bunch of these as well.
I've got even more of them at home.
I got two of them that are kept, and then I got 3D printed, so I 3D printed a whole bunch of pieces here.
Yeah,
all my paints and all my paints in dropper bottles.
and that solution would work great for Army Painter, Vallejo, a lot of those other ones that use those kind of dropper bottles. And the dropper bottles are definitely way more convenient when you're actually painting to just drip some out and away you go. The pots definitely waste a lot more. But, it is what it is. I'm glad you're enjoying the videos there, Isaiah Dawn, if that's how you pronounce that. I apologize if I butchered it.
I think.
Yeah, sorry if I butchered that. My apologies.
I told him last night that we would be doing a stream today.
Nice.
And I told him that we started about an hour before what we actually did.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties.
It's been a while since we've done this.
Unfortunately, the device that we use, which is an iPad to upload to YouTube from our two cameras, um, was not wanting to download the application we use or update it. So that took a little bit to get resolved. It took almost half an hour just to update the iPad, which was annoying.
That's what happens when you pay for high-speed internet and they don't give you high-speed internet.
Well, I don't think it was your high-speed internet problem. It's just...
Oh, we're gonna blame it.
No, trust me, updating iPads is always slow. Trust me, I work in IT. I know this stuff. But we're probably going to be wrapping up here before too much longer. The iPad's down to 25%. We could put it on battery, but we've already been going for a good 2 hours. So it has been. Time sure flies when you're painting. All right. So I'll show a little bit more of the blocking in before we wrap up. I'm going to do a much brighter color now. So I did Skaven Blight Dinge, and I'll let you see that. So I did little patches of Skaven Blight, and now I'm going to do a much brighter color. And actually, I could probably do those patches larger. You know what? I'm going to make them larger before I go on to the next one. So when you're doing camo patterns, you don't want to go too small with them. I have done that here in some cases, so I'm going to actually enlarge them a little bit. The whole purpose is to break up the silhouette of the model, right? And you'll notice here that I'm just like going over the ridges and all that, like I'm not following them, and that's intentional.
switch, what I'm doing right now, you might be able to see that some of the details didn't come out that well because this is 3D printed, and just because of how I printed it and supported it, some of the supports were poorly placed and didn't realize until after I had taken them all off. But you know, one of these miniatures cost me like 20 cents.
Yeah, whereas this squad of 3 snipers cost me like close to 60, 70 bucks.
I love 3D printing, I do it all the time, but you know, there's certain drawbacks. If it was superior in every way, everyone would just go 3D printing.
Yeah.
Some people think that plastic miniatures have a day in the sun and that they're going to become obsolete right away. I disagree.
I disagree as well. Their plastic minis aren't going to go away right away. Now, what I am happy for is that freaking pewter minis are gone.
Oh, yeah.
For the most part, there's still some games out there that use them.
I used to love pewter miniatures because I used to be a lot dumber than what I am now.
Do you love your paint scraping off as soon as you're done? Even putting it into your foam carrying case? For those of you watching the stream, if you're still here, unfortunately the app doesn't give us a live viewer count. How is the video quality this time around? Last time it came down a little bit low. We are intentionally streaming at a little bit lower of a quality today, just to hopefully get it through to YouTube a little bit better. And unfortunately, because of our preview here of what we can actually see on my iPad, it's showing me the feeds direct from the camera, so it doesn't actually show me what YouTube sees.
Yeah, there's another little flaw from 3D printing. One of the fingers broke off, so I got a short finger.
Common problem.
Or we can just say it comes off. Because, kiss it.
Yeah, it's looking fantastic, though. And actually, I'm going to show something neat here.
Neat.
Yeah. So you probably notice a lot of my Marines are headless and don't have a backpack on. When they're supposed to have these power generator backpacks on for their power armor. That's because I've done them in sub-assemblies. So I have these things called the sub-assembly holders here that I put the models on, or the pieces onto. And they're temporarily glued onto there until they break off. Until I break them off intentionally, rather. So this lets me get a little bit better access into the model. Because like this backpack is for this guy. And if I put the backpack on right away, it would cover that entire back panel. And actually, you can see some of the lovely edge highlighting I've already done on this black armor. Take a look at that. That's took me quite a while to get that done. And it's still not as clean as a lot of people can do it. But I am very, very happy with how that's turned out. And you can actually see it a lot more on the camera here than I can in person. So that's actually helping me a lot to see where I've got to do more. And it's a nice subtle effect. And I can see there are places where I need to clean it up, like in the inside of the shoulder there. Yeah. So this sub-assembly holder is great. I love that it does still fit in the painting handle. That's pretty cool. Um, yeah. You'll see here I'm using the GW synthetic brushes. Again, that's just preference. I probably have about 8 different sets of brushes that I use. At least that. You can see on this one, because of the nice bright light, I'm still establishing the black on this one. So this is the same black I was using earlier on that marine, thanks to the wet palette. I did add a little bit of water to it just to revive it just a little bit, but on a standard dry palette, that would have been done by now, like way done. No chance of recovery.
You sound like you're a little bit hungry over there.
Oh yeah, I am.
I had lunch today, and I was thinking, don't need it. Hungry.
So we'll probably start wrapping up here in a minute.
Yeah.
All right. Gotta give all my models nice time to dry before I head home. Last thing that's always the worst. You finish a paint job and then you smudge it. That is the
The paint grabs onto whatever you put the miniatures in.
yeah.
Like you put them in the foam, some of them stick to the foam and then rip off.
Yeah, when you go to pull them out again, it just feels awful when that happens. You're like, why, God, why?
And if you're a viewer and you're saying I've never done that, that's because you're smarter than we are.
Also, you're lying.
I think some people are just born smart.
Oh, come on. To say that you've never done that in your entire painting career, you're lying.
Most people do it more than once.
Yeah. In my case, I've never done it more than 15 times. I'm kidding. I haven't done it that many times.
Some people are faster learners.
I've had less problems since I switched to magnetic storage. That was a great call on my part. It was my custodies that forced me to make that change. The foam that I was storing in before would just constantly snap the spears, so the custodies forced me to make a change in my storage solution, and I don't regret it. I mean, it's a more expensive storage solution because I have to buy magnets and metal sheets to store, but it is a superior storage solution in my opinion. But I mean, use what you want. Like use.
Calling ourselves class.
I am.
Thinks so much better than us just because he is.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna start wrapping things up here. I'm gonna start putting away my paints and all that sort of stuff. I'll let Keg keep going for a bit here while I start doing my cleanup here and give some final remarks since this is his channel. I mean, it's both of our channels, but he's the one who manages it. So I'll leave you with him while I start wrapping up.
As you can see, I'm continuing on with my red and blue look for this lid. I'm kind of liking how it's turning out.
Yeah, I mean that's really all there is to it. It's no surprise. And then one of the cool
Cool. Have you watched Squidward's video about making that scenic thing with the tile manta?
yeah, I've seen some of it.
Geez, what a project that is. And I had no idea that the manta was so indestructible in the world, just like straight out of the box.
Yeah, that's horrible, especially for paying that much money for
Yeah.
a model. Like it's an insanely expensive model on the thousands of dollars. And then just to get it and it's all warped. Oh my god, I cannot even imagine how angry I would be.
At least it's not pewter, though.
Yeah.
And now I'm just going to a bunch of gray lining on this. So I'm just going to repaint all of that gray. I did a gray undercoat for the whole miniature, the base coat. And something I would recommend is, because I used to do black for everything.
Really?
Like, I did that for years. Didn't even consider doing all this stuff.
Not a white base coat?
I decided I didn't consider doing it for a long time. Because, well, I was dumber back then than I am now.
Well, you saw for my light colored guys, I'm doing off white base coats. For Necromunda, I usually do gray base coats. Mechanicus Standard is the one I use from GW. Again, just GW is my preference. Um, and I do that because I want them to have a more grungy look.
Yeah, using a variety of sprays and stuff for your base coats. I've got a whole bunch of colors now. I have black, white, and gray are my three most used colors. I probably do gray for most things now.
Yeah, I do black, white, and gray usually most of the time.
I've also got brown, green, red, yellow.
Yeah, I've tried doing yellow spray because obviously my guys end up yellow anyway, so why not? I just found that it didn't give me quite the vibrancy that I wanted for the yellow.
Oh, that's good.
Um, it was still a good choice. It wasn't a bad choice. It's just my own. I want my yellow to be super vibrant, so I stopped doing that.
It wants to hit people in the face so badly.
Yes, exactly. I told you earlier I wanted them to be able to camouflage with the sun. Also, it's also kind of just a nice when it comes to 40K. There's lots of armies that are just dark colors running around everywhere. So I went with a bright color to kind of, I don't know. It seems it's a little bit more interesting, again, especially against the gloomy gloom and doom background of the 40K.
Yeah, I used to paint everything blue, or most things that, which is part of the reason why I always do the black undercoat for base coat. And I find that I do a lot more bright things, for instance, this. You know, some things I do are pretty dark.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of depends on what I'm painting and what I'm feeling for it. Some things I feel look really good with just dark colors. Other things look really always looking terrible. Stop watching, people.
All right.
Unsubscribe. Unsubscribe. I'm getting a butchery of this.
Ending the stream now.
Yeah, it's just ending with a bad note. I guess I just ruined all that.
Really?
Well, the fur didn't come out in the print super well,
Mm.
mostly because of why the supports had to go for it.
Okay.
Probably should have just like repainted this model because of having the supports.
Oh no.
But
I just threw a paint in my storage box and it landed perfectly. Feels good, man. Feels good.
we're still alive, or did you?
No, we're still going. It's just you. I'll be wrapping up soon. I'm just starting to pack up my stuff. Figured I'd watch you a little bit longer while I do this.
Just like watching it. Not just my face, just
Don't worry, I'll see you in your window tonight.
there's also not a grown when I support outside the window.
Not in this cold. Not in this cold. Below zero is too cold for the drone. Well, at least that's what it's rated for. Lithium-ion batteries don't like being frozen. I could fly it in this weather. There's nothing physically stopping me from doing it. But if when the battery's voltage with a lithium-ion battery, when the voltage starts to get low, you run the risk of having voltage dropouts. And when you're at 300 feet, that's not a good thing. They do sell those. Yeah, yeah. Apparently, the city of Calgary just not kind of giving a little bit of our location away, but the city of Calgary is a big ass place. The city of Calgary ordered a bunch of parachutes for drones. I was at the drone shop the other day, and they were working on the order for them, and they ordered like 20 drone parachutes, and they're only $10,000 each. Yep, because they have to be custom made for the drone. And I was just laughing because the damn parachute costs more than the drone does.
Yeah, I guess they must be getting a very important punch that they don't want to risk losing.
Well, it's more for public safety because they don't
I
want
guess that makes sense.
they don't want drones smacking into people when they go out of control, and you have to make sure it fires. So, right. All right, guys. Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up today's stream. So, thank you very much for joining us.